Well, once again here, this is Baruch Flashman, and we're continuing on with Likutei Moharan. There's a tremendous amount in this. I hope it's beneficial for you as much as it is for me, because this is the song of Kedusha coming from Rebbe Nachman the Breslev Rebbe. He says it protects him from being adversely affected by this intention. So when a person studies at night, he writes, a thread of loving kindness is drawn over him during the day, and it protects him from being adversely affected by this intention. So in the Pirush, he explains that something we mentioned previously, that when you study Torah at nighttime, or when nobody knows that you're studying Torah, they can't see you then this is the highest level, because then there is only you and God together. So let's see, he says protects him from this bad intention. The loving kindness that descends upon a person who studies the oral Torah at night corresponds to the loving kindness revealed at midnight. This loving kindness, which repels and subdues the two birds of the klipa, the arrogance, which are the birds of arrogance, these are the birds of announcing their own fame. He is therefore protected from the negative effects of studying Torah for his sake. His own aggrandizement and personal control over Malchus. Instead, he is able to study the Shema. Let's see, like he says, what is his words again? He says, his own aggrandizement and personal control over Malchus. He can make Malchus do what he wants. Instead, he is able to study the Shema, each person on his own level. It's not saying this will very person. Now, don't try to be somebody else. Be yourself. Rectifying Malchus in the 6 rings of the windpipe. The voice. This is how the Talmud deduces the thread of loving kindness from "by night his song is with me." That's a quote. Because the concept of night rectifies song. The Parpara de Chokmah adds that this thread of loving kindness is so beneficial that even while the person studies, he's protected from thoughts that would bring him to Shelo Lishma. I guess this is called Be'ibei Hanocho, writes, it often happens that a person wants to study the Shema but is diverted by his evil inclination, which awakens him and the desire for personal gain. So you're learning the Shema, you started out that way, but now your personal desires to be called a Rebbe or to be important gets in the way. To be called rabbi for wealth and the like, things like that, things that are selfish or only pertain to you. So he's telling us something, that we're like phased this way or that way. The world in which we live pulls us in different ways, and sometimes we get off the track. As explained, the means for overcoming these diversions is studying oral Torah at night. So this is a point that the Rebbe makes over and over and over again, the value of studying the oral Torah, that's the Mishnah, at nighttime. That is, if a person wants to study the Shema, then studying at night will draw the thread of loving kindness upon him and protect him from Shelo Lishma. In contrast to there's study during the day, requires actual study Lishma and isn't capable of protecting against ulterior motives. Everybody sees you study, you're in the base of Midrash and you're doing it. Even a person's study at night, if it contains a major element of Shelo Lishma, that you're doing it for personal gain, draws no loving kindness upon him. So he wants to say that this power of loving kindness is very great. Furthermore, the person who studies Shelo Lishma can only be protected before his song, that is, the song which represents his voice, is blemished. The thread of loving kindness enables him to turn Shelo Lishma into Lishma. This is what he wants to say, because what's the greatest kindness that we can have? That is clinging to Hashem, becoming one with infinity. But once he has listened to the singing of a wicked person, his voice is blemished and is exposed to the adverse side of Shelo Lishma. Then he must do all he can, look for any way possible to study Lishma. So we have a little review, and he says like this: listening to the singing of a virtuous person is beneficial to serving God. Listening to the singing of a wicked person is detrimental. The reason is that song, which corresponds to prophecy, stems from Netzach and Hod. Those are the last two spheres of the basic body of Zer Anpin, which are Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, and then the last two are Netzach and Hod. That whole flow flows into Yesod, but the actual spheros that are feeding are Netzach and Hod. These are the two spheres that nourish Malchus because they feed Malchus. A person is sustained by vitality he receives from one of the two manifestations of Malchus. Commensurate with his deeds, he draws either from Malchus of holiness or Malchus of the other side. To protect oneself from harmful singers and song, one should study the oral law, Talmud, at night. This will rectify song and protect him from blemishing Malchus. So, let's see what else we can say. Now, he says, the Rebbe writes, now it is brought in the writings of the Uriah Kodesh, of blessed memory, that the birds of the Klippa are the intellect of Malchus. It is called the Malchus de Klippa, the kingdom of the other side. Whereas these two live birds are the concept of building up Malchus of Gedusha, the kingdom of holiness. Let's see what we can do with this idea. He said, David HaMelech was therefore lauded before Shaul as one who was skilled at playing music. Again, I'm thinking that the Rebbe Nachman, is really an ultimate musician also. This is because song is the concept of building up Malchus, which is why David, who was deserving of Malchus' kingship, he represents Malchus. Thus, of David it is written, from behind the nursing ewes, he brought him to tend his people Yaakov. Now, what's the concept of nursing ewes? This person was a shepherd. He lived in the fields. So he says, this person who was able to take care of the nursing ewes, which means that they're feeding their offspring, he brought him to tend his people Yaakov. From behind the nursing ewes, what's that mean? That is from behind those that suckle, those that need. And we'll see if we can get an idea on that from down here in the Pirush. This refers to Netzach and Hod. For Netzach and Hod are the pipelines. Netzach is the pipeline for Chochmah, and Hod is the ninth pipeline for Bina. Malchus, which is empty, receives her nourishment from these. For they nourish the prophets and are the concept of building up Malchus. Let's see if we can learn a little bit along this line, just a little bit here. Now, what does it mean by the nursing of ewes, suckle? When tending his father's flock, David took special care to ensure the one received the precise nourishment it needed. He looked at the children, the little kids, or what would it be, the little lambs. First he took out the young sheep to pasture, so that they might eat the soft upper part of the grass. Next, he took out the elderly sheep to pasture, so that they might eat the middle part of the grass. And finally, David took out the hardy sheep to pasture, so that they might eat the tough bottom part of the grass. God said, this one is certainly fitting to be the shepherd king of my people. Thus David, skilled in song, he was also a musician, was taken by God from tending the flock to be ruler of the kingdom. You'll see that in the next note. This is Baruch Fleischman. We'll get to that in the next year. And this is the Tikkun Elevator Call Out.